welcome back to my channel. Thanks for tuning into another video. This video is going to be all about why I lost my period and how I got it back. So I did do a brief overview. So my first YouTube video was a brief overview of how I got my period back within 3 months. So I just wanted to go into a little bit more detail in terms of why I lost my period and also the top 10 things that I believe helped me to get my period back. Before I start, I just want to say that obviously I'm not a doctor, I'm not a medical professional. I'm not saying that all these things will work for everybody or everybody should do these things. This is just personally what I did. And I just want to share that in case those things may also help you, or just in case you're looking for a bit more inspiration, as I know it can be such a hard journey, and I know there is some conflicting things out there about what you can and can't do while recovering from HA. So I just think everybody's story is valid and it's worth sharing, even if it just helps a few people do things that actually they might not have thought about. So I briefly mentioned in my first video that I was on the contraceptive pill from the age of 16. So this was the pill where you do actually have a period. So I was having one every month, but it's actually just a withdrawal bleed. So it's nothing to do with your own natural hormones. It's just a result of coming off the pill. So even some people I know weren't, I mean, I was one of those. I wasn't aware that it wasn't just a normal period. And I don't think I was aware until I was about 24. I'd been on the pill for almost 10 years and didn't know that the withdrawal bleed wasn't an actual period. So it's one of those things I just don't think is talked about a lot by doctors, and I really wish it was. Before the age of 16, I had a completely normal cycle, so I was actually quite early. I think my period started when I was 12, maybe 13, and they were always normal, quite regular periods, so I never had any problems. And I went on to the pill when I was 16, and then I didn't come off the pill till 2019, so about a year and a half, 2 years ago, I came off the pill. I've been on the pill for a long time, and so I don't actually know how long I didn't have a period for, if that makes sense, because there was no way of me telling while I was on the pill of whether or not my body would actually have a normal cycle or not. I predict that I probably wouldn't have had a normal cycle for the last 3 years or so of me being on the pill, 2 or 3 years, because that was when I was at my leanest, and that's when I was at my lowest body fat percentage. So I think it's definitely one of the downsides of being on the pill, is that actually you don't know how your hormones are functioning. And I already had an inkling, and I touched on this in my first video, that if I came off the pill, I wouldn't have a period just because I was so lean. I did have such a low body fat percentage. And hypothalamic amenorrhea, which is absence of a period, was something I didn't know anything about, probably until the last 6 months or so of me being on the pill. And I heard about it quite a lot. I think it was just one of those things that was coming up a little bit more in YouTube videos. Other people on Instagram were sharing a little bit more about it. And the more I heard about it, the more I thought, is this something I'm going to have when I come off the pill? And I think part of me, to be honest, put off coming off the pill because I knew it was something I was going to then have to face. And from hearing other people's stories, I knew that meant gaining a lot of weight and eating a lot more and reducing exercise. And that did scare me, I'll be completely honest, because I love my lifestyle of going to the gym 5 times a week, of being quite lean, having that kind of really athletic look, and I did really enjoy it. And I actually wasn't feeling any negative side effects of that I was aware of at the time. I am now aware of those negative side effects, but at the time, because I had been like that for quite a while, it was just normal to me. And I didn't have any kind of eating disorder, I didn't have any issue with food, but I was pretty much constantly probably hovering at maintenance or a slight deficit in terms of calories that I was eating. So through hovering at maintenance or slight deficit for a long period of time, I was able to keep that level of leanness. Anyway, so fast forward, I guess, from then deciding to come off the pill, which was through, like I say, I'd spent a lot of time thinking, am I going to get my period back, am I not? And in the end, I just decided I need to just to test it out. And I came off the pill, and I thought, it could take a little while. I've heard sometimes it can take up to about 3 months for people's cycles to return to normal. 7 or 8 months later, I still didn't have a period, and I knew why. And I did mention my first video, so I won't go into this too much, but I did go for blood tests. I went to see my doctor about it, and everything was normal, except obviously I had low hormone levels. And my doctor did say that I'd probably have to gain weight, increase my body fat in order to get my period back, which was all things I already knew, but I wanted the blood work done just to rule out anything else going on, which it did, which was obviously great. So basically, in terms of why I lost my period, it wasn't anything to do with the contraceptive pill. Obviously, that's not what I'm saying. That was just masking the fact that I had lost my period, and probably had lost my period for a good couple of years. And through coming off the pill, I was able to test my body's natural hormones and realise that actually, yes, I did have hypothalamic amenorrhea, which is just absence of a period. And that was as a result of being very lean, not quite fueling my body enough. I was eating quite a low carb diet. I was over exercising. I was exercising 5-6 times a week. Very heavy strength-based sessions with the occasional high intensity circuit kind of style training that was actually pretty intense, almost a bit like your CrossFit style WODs that you hear about. I wasn't really doing anything else. I wasn't doing long runs. I wasn't doing a lot of other cardio. I'd occasionally do things like boxing. But, you know, I just absolutely loved exercise. So I was just doing whatever I could, whatever I enjoyed, whatever I loved. But through that, I was just not giving my body the rest it needed, and I was definitely overdoing it when combined with eating quite a low amount of calories for what my body probably needed. And if you want to find out a little bit more about exactly what I was eating, the calories I was on, and how I changed that, I have done a video all about nutrition and HA, which I'll link below and will also pop up here. So that's a little bit about why I lost my period. And I think that's really common. I think a lot of girls that I speak to have generally lost their period because either they've had an eating disorder, which meant they've had a very low body weight, or like me, but a combination of the two, maybe not quite eating enough or over exercising. And then I've heard it a lot in girls that have had a sudden weight loss. So maybe all of a sudden within like a month or two, lost 10 pounds in weight. And sometimes they haven't got to the point where they're actually really lean, but that sudden drop in weight has just resulted in them losing their period. So now I just want to talk about my top 10 things that I believe got me my period back. So I got my period back in October last year. So it's now been 6 months. I've had 5 regular cycles and 1 irregular cycle where my cycle was probably about 6 weeks long. And I think that was because that month I had just probably gone back to sort of maintenance calories, and I had increased the intensity of my exercise too much. So I made a few little tweaks and I'm back to a normal cycle again. So my top 10.
I will get to it.
Number 1, increasing calories to above 2,500. Like I've just said, I talked all about how I did that in a video on nutrition and HA, but I think that was definitely one of the key factors for me in regaining my period, was pushing calories up to 2,500 plus. I was probably reaching 3,000, if not more, calories some days. So I was probably averaging out way above 2,500, but I set that as a minimum for myself. So I'd say that was probably the number 1 factor. Number 2, gaining over 10 pounds of weight. So again, I've talked about this in other videos, so I probably won't need to go into the numbers, but I've now gained probably about 15 pounds in weight overall, but I gained probably about 10-11 pounds before I got my period back. And that pushed me into healthier BMI and also added a lot more body fat. So I pushed me into a healthy body fat percentage as well. Number 3, reducing exercise to 3 or 4 times a week. So again, I've done a video on the exercise and the routines that I did throughout HA recovery, and I was able to continue exercising and still regain my period back. But I think from taking exercise down from 5 to 6 times a week to 3 to 4 times a week had a big difference. And I cut out all cardio. I was no longer doing any HIIT style, WOD style training. I was purely doing strength training, and I was doing it at quite a low intensity, so nothing that got my heart rate up, nothing that was too challenging, nothing that was too heavy, just light strength-based training sessions, as well as some yoga thrown in here and there is kind of a bit of added relaxation. Number 4, prioritizing sleep. Again, that was such a big one. I was never actually bad at this, so I always still tried to get at least 8 hours sleep. But I tried to focus a little bit more on having a really good evening routine. So I ended up getting some blue light blocking glasses, which I do think really helped. Particularly when if you're on your phone in the evening, you're watching TV, there's lots of evidence to suggest that it can help your body produce the melatonin that's needed before you go to bed. So I got those. I would always have I had a bit of a routine, so I'd have an evening shower. I would try and reduce things like too much stimulation an hour or so before bed, things like not being on my phone all the time. I introduced magnesium as a supplement, which I genuinely believe had quite a big difference. It's got loads of evidence again for why it is good for helping sleep, and it's something I'd just never tried before. And I would have magnesium citrate, so I got mine from my protein, and I would have that just before I went to bed, and I do think that had a big impact as well. Number 5, eating within 30 minutes of waking up. So previously I would have got up, maybe had a tiny bit of fruit or something and gone straight to the gym. So I was pretty much exercising without eating anything beforehand. Or I would sometimes get up and I would have breakfast at say 9 o'clock, so maybe 2 hours after I'd already been awake. And I'd read that actually your body needs fuel as soon as you wake up, particularly when you're recovering from HA. So I ate within 30 minutes. I was always having peanut butter and banana on toast. That would be my first breakfast. And then if I'd exercised, or even if I hadn't, sometimes I generally have then another breakfast at around about 9 o'clock. So I'd be eating at about 6:30, 7, and then again about 9 o'clock. And I think that was another key thing for me, and another key reason why I was able to exercise while going through HA recovery and still get my period back. Number 6, increasing carbs significantly. So never thought I was eating low carb, but actually looking back now, I definitely was. So I was having a lot of healthy carbs. So I was eating lots of sweet potato. I was still eating things like rice, quinoa, grains, those kind of carbs, which are great. And I still eat them all now, but probably the quantities weren't enough. And I wasn't including a little bit more of your kind of simple carbs, like your white pasta, like your white bread, things that actually give your body a lot more energy. And I definitely increased those massively. So carbs overall, I was probably having around 200 grams of carbs, and then went to having about 300 grams of carbs. And it just made such a difference. And I still have that now. I've never changed anything since getting my period back, because I just love carbs. I always have done, but subconsciously I was really restricting the carbs that I was eating, whereas now,
give me all the carbs.
Number 7, so eating high calorie breakfast, lunch and dinner. So what I previously got into the habit of doing was having maybe quite a low calorie breakfast and lunch, and then eating quite a lot in the evenings. And basically that meant throughout the day, my body was just ticking over on just enough calories, but actually I wasn't fueling my body. I wasn't giving it enough calories throughout the day, and I would be starving in the evenings, and I just never put 2 and 2 together. I never realised that I was actually restricting through the day and then eating loads of carbs in the evening. And I think part of me quite liked doing that. I don't know why, but I quite liked the idea of just, I can eat loads in the evening, but then restricting what I ate during the day, which just doesn't make sense and definitely isn't good when you're recovering from HA. So I changed that completely so that my calories across the day were very equal. So I had quite an equal amount of calories in my breakfast, lunch and dinner, and then obviously snacks and everything else around it, but it was spread out throughout the day. So my body was getting that fuel it needed throughout the day, rather than putting it under stress by under fueling it during the day and then maybe just obviously then packing it with a load of calories in the evening. Number 8, changing my mindset. A real big one for me was changing my mindset from focusing on looking the leanest, being the fittest, probably focusing on all the wrong things, to focusing on being the healthiest and happiest. And it wasn't an easy just, switch overnight of right, okay, now I don't care about being lean, I don't care about having abs, I don't care about being fit. All of a sudden it's just, I'll just be happy and healthy. but it was a gradual process over time. I started focusing on things that actually really do matter and questioning all the things that I thought mattered. And through doing that, listening to other people's stories, hearing other people that had gone through the same sort of thing, how they changed their mindset, all those little things really helped me then do similar sort of things. So rather than also focusing on lots of people who were looking at being the leanest and being the slimmest and the fittest, I started following a lot more people that were focusing on body positivity, just being healthy, being happy, more about a healthy mind kind of leading to a healthy body. And just my goals just completely shifted. All about just movement and shifting that attention to how could I move my body in an enjoyable way rather than almost like in a punishing way. And I think that's why I've been able to also sustain the changes, and I haven't had too many sort of, freak out moments of the changes that have happened in my body, because I completely changed my mindset and what was important to me. I have done another video on how I dealt with the weight gain, so if that's something that you're struggling with at the moment, then you can go check that out. Number 9, telling other people around me. So I really found it helpful telling my family, my boyfriend, a few of my friends, what I was doing and why I was doing it, because I think that then removes some of the fear factor of, are people thinking, oh God, what's happened to her? Or she's put on a load of weight, or God, she never would have eaten that before, or oh God, you're eating loads today. And just kind of those little comments that people might have made without even realizing that that could have had an impact on me. So I did make a point of telling people what I was doing, so that I was trying to increase weight, why I was doing it, because obviously I didn't have a period. And that really helped, because then everyone around me was quite positive. They were like, oh, so what are you doing now? What's helping? Or even, encouraging me to eat a little bit more, or all those kind of little things. It actually did help. And I think sometimes if you hide away from it and you're only dealing with it on your own, it's so much harder than if you try and get the support from other people around you. So if you can, I would definitely recommend trying to tell as many people as possible around you that you feel comfortable with, so that you're not then worrying about what they might be thinking. So number 10, I've kind of already covered this, but eating around a workout, I think that is so important and is something that I have kept in and I will never change. If I want to work out, I know I need to eat a large amount before and a large amount afterwards. And I wouldn't have been able to keep the exercise in if I hadn't have done that. And I think now, if I all of a sudden decided to not eat before or not eat afterwards, I think my body would quite easily slip into that kind of overstress mode, and I potentially would lose my period again. So that is something that I think has been really important to me personally, and is something that, again, I would never change. And actually all of these, top 10 things that I'm saying helped me, most of these I haven't really changed. And that's 6 months post getting my period back. So I still am eating 2,500 calories. I'm still only doing about 4 workouts a week. They have increased in intensity, but only slightly. I'm still prioritizing sleep. I've still got a massive shift in mindset. I will never want to aspire to have abs again or be the leanest. At some point in the future, I'm not saying I'll never want to lose weight, just not even close to where my goals are right now. Pretty much everything I've just spoken about, I'm still doing now. And I'm going to keep doing those for as long as I need to make sure that my cycle is normal. So I hope that was helpful. Again, it is a bit of a whistle stop tour of some of the things that have just helped me that I wanted to share and just set out quite clearly others who are going through the same thing. But like I said, it's not to say that these will work for you, and our bodies are all so very different, just really different. But if there's anything that has kind of resonated with you, or just any things that I've not included that have really helped you, just so that I can share them with other people, then let me know in the comments below. And if you like this video, if you could like and subscribe, that would mean a lot, and I'll catch you in another one. Thank you.